Good morning. It is cold outside. It is January 15th, 2025. If you got to go outside, you've got to bundle up. It's so frigidly cold. Today we'll get up in the upper 20s. So this morning started off in the upper teens with wind chills close to zero. And it is windy. As soon as you open up that door, you'll know it. It'll smack you in the face. Tomorrow we are cold as well. There is a 40% chance in the afternoon we could get some light snow. With a disturbance coming through, so don't be surprised. Friday and Saturday look like we warm up a little bit, and that could bring some rain showers on Saturday. It doesn't look like a washout now. More and more as we get closer, it's less and less precipitation, so as been the case, when we need rain, we're not getting it. I know I like snow, so I prefer it to become a snow, but that's the way it is. Sunday does more and more likely look like we'll get some snow. In the afternoon, evening time frame. May start as a little bit of rain, but be cold enough to bring it over to snow. Maybe 1 to 2, if we're lucky, a little bit more than that. Some models have been upping that amount. We'll have to see how that comes about. It's pretty far off, so I'll show you the model here. It doesn't look as impressive. The European shows a little more. It's just kind of a questionable. Now, next week, we're going to be brutally cold. Already been mentioning that for a while. Now the forecast is reflecting that. Highs on Tuesday in the mid-teens. Yeah, colder than they are this morning for a high temperature. Lows will be close to zero, probably for a couple days in a row. If we happen to get snow, it's going to bring it even colder. It does look like after that we'll have a relaxation, so maybe get a little warmer later next week after this really frigid outbreak. All right, we'll see that on the models here. All I got to tell you is probably after around Sunday and beyond, I think things are questionable whether or not we get moisture or precipitation here. We know the cold's coming. The question is whether or not a southern storm is going to come in, and this cold may be so overwhelming it could push the snow or whatever precipitation way south. And I'm talking like even northern Florida could see some frozen precipitation. That's how cold this air mass is. And then we'll just see how things progress. So, again, after Sunday, exact models, exact amounts, exact location of low pressure, snow, and everything else will be something we have to watch. So take that for granted as you're watching this map. So as we progress, we stay cold. Here is that snow potential for tomorrow afternoon. To see, I don't think it will be much, but even like last night, it can coat. If you saw it last night, we had some snow. And here's a relaxation. We're seeing the southwesterly winds, the warmer winds come in. Not super warm, but warmer. Warm enough so that when this precipitation comes to us, it comes as rain. It may possibly, depending on when it starts during the day, we may see a little bit of sleet at the onset. So some showers. Doesn't look majorly organized here. And on this system here, on the GFS, the American model, the follow-up wave here is showing up, but it's not much for us or on us. So I have to watch this on Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. Still about into early Monday, only about a 30% chance we'll see some snow at this point. I feel pretty confident we're going to see something. Just don't know how much. Regardless, it is the onslaught of the cold. You can see the very tight isotherms of the cold air coming in and the really close, tight isobars, the black lines, meaning it's going to be windy and cold on Monday. So Martin Luther King Jr. Day and Inauguration Day, depending on what you're dealing with during that day. If you're going to be outside, you're going to be cold. Then on Tuesday, it's just brutally cold. Nothing around really, just cold, 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 and cold winds. Temperatures only in the teens on Tuesday. It looks like in this high is slipping so far south. Look at how far it's pushed to the precipitation and everything way down off to the Gulf Coast where snow is along the Gulf Coast. And it's possible. This is such a cold air mass. It's just going to overwhelm. And we'll have to see. So it does get some storminess forming here along the Gulf, and it's trying to bring it up the East Coast. This is middle, or late next week. Honestly, because of the way the pattern goes, this high kind of recedes or moves out. We get southerly winds here. It doesn't mean it's going to stay cold enough for it to be all snow. So it may start off snow and then move over to a wintry mix. This can be very heavy snow for a brief period of time. When you get a low to the north here, it's going to eat away your cold air. And so even though it looks brutal, or potentially like a big storm, I think it's all up in the air as to whether or not this will come true. You do see that the low is going right over top of us, and because of that, we go over to a major ice storm. Orientation and location of this low pressure system is going to be all critical to what happens next week and whether or not we get a big storm, whether it be ice or snow, and what it does over top of us. Regardless, right after we get super cold again and very, very, very windy if this comes true. So it's going to yank down the cold air yet again. So when I said it was going to get warmer, I should have mentioned only briefly. And then, again, here we get a relaxation, and we'll just see if this whole pattern kind of repeats again as we get on the line. So is this going to come true? I would take it a huge grain of salt next week, exactly when the storminess comes up, where the cold air is, how the timing works out. It could be a very terribly crazy winter storm. Could have ice, could have snow, could be anything. When you have retreating Arctic air, it's very hard to move it out. And secondarily, it stays shallow and trapped against the ground. So regardless of what happens, we get snow, sleet, freezing rain. It's really a hard challenge to know. And the European was showing a crazy storm next week, and then it relaxed off of it. I'll show the European here in a moment because I want to show you Sunday. So I think we'll have some snow around. We just got to wait and see how the models react. So here's the European model just for a different perspective, and different models can do different things. So we're cold, just as we know here. This is a relaxation and that precipitation moving through. You saw it was very light on the European as it came through. So maybe a little bit of rain showers on Saturday, but not much. And then it has this wave of low pressure following up and bringing us snows on Sunday afternoon and evening. And this being very consistent to bring the snow. Ironically, the GFS kind of led with that and then kind of backed off. We'll have to see if it comes back around or if all of them move dry, so don't rely on anything. And then beyond that, it just looks really, really cold here into next week. This is very cold on Tuesday. Windy, but the wind should be dying off some, but still, teens for sure. Now, let me show you the longer range outlook on the European and just kind of mention a few things I see. As I mentioned, once we get to Sunday and beyond, I would be really questioning whether or not things are true, but here we are. Saturday, see on the European last night, it was so cold even on Saturday that we started off with a little bit of snow because the cold air had a hard time retreating. And then the low pressure system forms there and we get the snow as a follow-up. So it snowed, rain, then more snow on Sunday. So we'll have to watch and see how that all transpires. I think Saturday will probably be primarily rain, but we'll have to see. I mean, things could change. The next week, you look at the overwhelming cold and look how far south this low or this moisture gets suppressed here on this system. So nothing really comes in, and then later we kind of get a follow-up kind of icy storm, rainstorm over top of things, and then another one after that, another rainstorm. So not really the snow that you were expecting there. Why do I say not really what we were expecting? Because earlier in the day, yesterday, a major winter storm was being forecast, and some other forecast models are showing that for next week. I think next week is just undecided. It starts off cold and brutally cold. We got that decided. What happens after about Tuesday to Thursday is kind of up in the air, and I would not be surprised to see some wintry weather get involved. All right, that was a long outlook for a lot of talk for not much other than telling you the cold is a-coming, and we already know that. And the cold is already here. It just relaxes a little bit, maybe a little bit of snow on Sunday, and then we'll have to watch next week, although we know it's going to get cold. Have a good one. It's been your Wednesday Loudoun County Weather Outlook.